Untitled horror movie is absolutely amazing. I adored this film. This was released in 2021. It's directed by Nick Simon, written by Simon and Luke Baines, and we have a cast including Claire Holt, Luke Baines, Darren Barnet, Timothy Granaderos, Katherine McNamara, Emmy Raver-Lampman, Kal Penn, Aisha Tyler, Kevin Daniels, Leslie Kahn, and Sohm Kapila. And it does take about 40 minutes to get good. It was interesting up until about the 40-minute mark, but after that, it was amazing. And we have some really incredible performances, some quite realistic dialogue, very likeable characters, really good editing. I love the concept. I'm a big fan of horror films that are set over Zoom or webcam. I just think they're so fun. And this one is no exception. The only thing I would have liked more of is some buttons, some icons on the screen, because for the most part we are just looking at screens. It doesn't necessarily, if you just glanced at one of those pictures, you wouldn't immediately know that they're on Zoom or whatever. There are no share screen icons, or I'm now trying to picture all of the buttons that are on a Zoom screen. All of the different buttons that are there. I think it could have looked a little bit more realistic, but other than that, it looks great. I love the narrative. A group of actors are worried that their TV show is going to be cancelled. So they decide to write a horror film and try and create this horror film. Also, according to Wikipedia, which I kind of thought might have been the case, is that this was filmed remotely during the pandemic, and it's not the only film to do this. There are some others that filmed like this. There's one that's very successful, and a couple of others, and I've seen a couple of the others, and a lot of them are very, very amateurish. This one does not come across like that at all, and I think they did a really fantastic job with the story. As I was saying before I interrupted myself, the actors have come together to decide to write a horror film that they're going to kind of rehearse over Zoom, and as they're doing this, dark things begin to happen. Initially, just to one of the characters. I won't say which character, I won't give it away, but I thought she was a joy. I've given away that it's one of the girls, but she was just absolutely brilliant. I loved her. And then, obviously, it escalates over time, and it genuinely feels scary. As a horror fan, and I'm sure many horror fans will agree, I find it hard to get scared by a lot of horror films. My threshold over the years has developed, and it takes a lot to make me feel on edge, and it absolutely did. Not every second of it. I wasn't on edge for the entirety of the second half of the film, but there were a lot of moments that were very unnerving. And there was one bit in particular, I won't give away too much, but basically a character is holding their camera out in front of them, and they're walking towards a door to see what's behind the door. And that moment, I just felt so sick. It was so effective. I absolutely loved it. So it's a delightful narrative. It's a pretty straightforward concept, exceptionally well executed, really great performances, very well written, believable characters and dialogue. The camera work is brilliant. As I said, the only real, not even a complaint, because it didn't really affect my enjoyment, but I think I would have liked it maybe a tiny bit more if it felt more like we were looking at Zoom, whereas for the most part it just looks like they've put together various video clips, whereas it's not immediately here, it's on Zoom or anything. So I think that could have been a little bit better. It could have felt a bit more realistic, I guess, but I don't mind that too much, and the horror aspect is very, very effective. It is a comedy horror. For the most part, I don't agree with that. I feel like it's a horror with a few moments of comedy relief. And I don't think that there's enough comedy in there for me to call it a comedy horror. For me, at least personally, comedy horrors are more of your kind of ridiculous, cheesy horrors that don't need to be taken too seriously. They're not usually that scary, but they're good fun. This is good fun, but because it is very, very scary. So I don't have any complaints about this. I absolutely adored it. I'd be quite happy to watch it again. I think they did a great job with the atmosphere, the characters, the writing, the camera work. It's great. Untitled Horror Movie is a delightful film. And if it sounds like the kind of film that would appeal to you, needless to say, I'm very, very happy to recommend it.